Going live. And we are live, y'all. We are live. It's gonna say record. All right. You ready, fellas?
Ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, what's up, everybody? We are live. Welcome to another session of the Double Car Podcast. You guys already know my name is Will. I am the host of this show. If you're tuning in for the very first time, thank you so much for tuning in. We got a great show for you guys. We got a great hot topic for you guys. As you guys can see, we have a great full panel of guests ready for you guys to dissect and dive right into this topic. To all my subscribers out there, so much. If you're watching this right now, all my subscribers out there, thank you so much for all the love and support. Much love to you guys. And if you love the content, appreciate what we do, support the panel, press that like and subscribe button. Don't forget, I do have a disclaimer for all the videos out there under the age of 18. I do have a disclaimer button and sound. I'm gonna play it down real quick.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised.
All right, that's my disclaimer right there. Please be advised. Thank you, Savage. Thank you much, Savage. That's my disclaimer sound. I'm gonna play every single podcast just so everybody know what kind of content you guys are gonna dive into tonight. Don't forget, we have the live chat going, so don't forget that's a part of this conversation. You guys want to participate, let me know what your thoughts are, opinions. I'll definitely want to hear what you guys think about the topic at hand. So you guys already know what to do in the live chat, so let's get that live chat going. Don't forget, we do have the super chat donation. So everybody out there that want to support my channel, support what I do, and support this platform, if you truly want to support it, you can support it with your pockets. Drop a super chat donation. And of course, if you do drop a super chat donation, ask it through a question, ask it through a topic, and I'll read it live during the show, and we'll respond live on the show, whatever you want to ask through that donation. If everybody do donate to my channel and support me fully, thank you so much. Much love to you. Don't forget, this is a public show. One of the biggest things I promote on my show is open dialogue and open discourse. So I know there's a lot of women out there. A lot of women out there are upset or triggered. But like I said, if you have something to say, if you have something to add to the conversation, definitely, this is a public show. I'm about to drop the public Zoom link on the chat, or you can go to my social media platforms and handles and check out. I posted all that on my platforms, and you can jump on the show. My only rule is keep it respectful, respect me, respect the guests, and respect the platform. But like I said, I'm always open to have you guys on here. Don't forget, if you do want to jump on the live show, there will be a time throughout the show I'll allow you guys to come in. Just be patient, just keep watching the show. I'll call your name. I have a waiting list. I can see the names that are popping up right now. I'll call your name. Just be ready to jump on, and you can add to the conversation. But don't forget also, I just want to give a shout out real quick. I had my first time on my show. I have a sponsor. So I'm going to give a special shout out to Mix and Match Accessories. So thank you so much for sponsoring my show so much. I'm gonna drop their link on the live chat. You can go and check out their website. So Mix and Match Accessories are sponsored by you today. It's Pacific Honor business. So if you guys out there, Pacific Honor, want to support Pacific Honor small businesses and help them grow as well, this is a Pacific Honor small business that supports my show, and they're sponsoring my show for tonight. So don't forget, you can go on I'm going to drop the link on the live chat. You can go on their website and use the code BLKFM10 to get 10% of all orders this whole week as part of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals that end at December 5th. So definitely check it out if you want to support. I know a lot of you guys out there want to buy some gifts. This holiday season, this is coupling season. I know a lot of the women who are triggered. I know you guys are single, so you probably need something for this Christmas. So definitely go support this Pacific Honor small business. And like I said, BLKF10 to get 10% of all orders this whole week as part of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, December 5th. They sell sparkly accessories such as earrings, face masks, and headbands. Get it for the holidays, yourself for the gifts for your loved ones. So special shout out to the Pacific Island small business Mix and Match Accessories. Much love to you to support my channel. But nevertheless, let's get the show started, fellas. You guys already know we got a great topic to dive in tonight. And without further ado, I'm allowed the men to introduce themselves real quick. So I'll start with the new fellas jumping on the podcast for the first time. Go ahead and introduce who you are, what do you do, so everybody can get some context of who you are joining us on the podcast for tonight. And I'll start with you, DJ, all the way from Nevada. Go ahead, DJ, introduce yourself real quick.
Like I said, I appreciate you for having me on, brother. My name is DJ, aka Fresh Prince. I am honestly, I ain't shit. I'm just doing my thing in the cannabis game out here legally. Come check me out. I'm a GM at a dispensary that is native owned. That'll be Native American owned. And we have the only legal cannabis consumption lounge. So come check me out. We're near downtown. And yeah, you need some tree, come hit me up.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. Some of y'all probably gonna need some tree after this show. All right. All right. Thank you so much, DJ, for supporting. Thank you for jumping on. Forrest, man, go ahead, man. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, guys. Name's Forrest. Right now, I'm studying philosophy in school, just a student. I'm going to school kind of late, kind of feeling like Billy Madison going to school these days. But I was serving in the Marine Corps for 5 years, but now I'm hitting school, and it's a treat to be here. Should be some interesting topics. Looking forward to it. All
right, no worries. All right, thank you so much, Forrest. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you jumping on for tonight's show. Daniela, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
First of all, Forrest, thanks for your service. I know you serve over there, but so there's that disconnect between New Zealand, but I've had a lot of families who've served, and the service of the comment of the service is appreciated. May go both way, but just wanted you to know that. Yeah, so I'm Daniela. I'm tuning in from New Zealand. Currently in construction as a project manager. Just turned 28 last week. So a lot of the things that I discuss are my own personal values, who in the last 3 years I've managed to refine. And not only that, thank you, Will, for letting me on. These introductions sort of seems to go a long way, but yeah, we support men and women. And majority of the conversation that I see on social media is catered towards one side, and mostly negative connotation of women. But tune in, come and listen, jump on the Zoom link, and let's have the conversation. It seems like nowadays no one supports open dialogue. It's just a one-way statement. So let's shift that mindset.
All right, no worries. All right. Thank you for Dylan jumping in all the way to New Zealand. And last but not least, the disclaimer person himself. Go ahead, Savage.
Yeah, definitely. Just for one more, just for safety, this content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised. And if not, fuck the hell off. Anyways, yeah. So currently, I'm in a family. I come from a monarchy. I'm the king of Uranus. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, all joking aside, man. Yeah, man. I'm here to have a good dialogue about, of course, men and women in our community, but more specifically, this situation with men not being there with their children, and attacking the argument from both sides and finding a solution, because that is truly important. I believe the more we have these conversations, it makes it more normalized for our elders and our youth to have these conversations in their homes. So there's potential in healing with talking about this. So Will, once again, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you guys for being a part of this conversation. And yeah, let's beat the shit out of this conversation.
All right, you guys already know. All right, we are locked and loaded for tonight. So, fellas, let's dive right into it. And of course, like I said, if you're part of the live chat, drop a comment, let me know what you guys think. And of course, don't forget the public show. If you guys want to be part of the conversation, just wait for that time. I'll call your name out and you get add on and be part of the conversation. But we're going to go right into tonight. So the topic at hand is, why don't men step up to take responsibility for their kids in modern society? All right. So, fellas, you guys already know what my standpoint is. If a man and woman has consensual sex, I put 100% of the accountability on the woman on not selecting a responsible mate before you choose to have sex with them. And I'm not denying the fact that there are men out there that don't have responsibility. Yes, I do believe there's a lot of men out there that don't take responsibility, and that is a problem as well. But as a woman, I believe that because you're the one that gets pregnant and you're the one that are the gatekeepers, a man can't do anything to you. You have to be more selective and not just throw that ass out there like a lot of women today are doing, without getting the man to attract commitment, financial stability, and marriage from the men. But that's my viewpoint. I'm interested to hear your standpoints and fellas. And like Savage said, we're gonna attack this from both sides, from the women and the men as well, and hold everybody accountable to the conversation. So I'll start with the new guys real quick. Don't hold back, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts about the conversation. So I'll start with you, DJ. DJ, so what's your thoughts about the topic at hand? Why don't men step up to take responsibility for their kids in modern day society? Go ahead, DJ.
To be honest, brother, it's a tough conversation to have. Just for me personally, I was raised by men that didn't play that shit. They were here to make sure that they were a footprint in your life, all the way from just being your father to your uncle. Like, you were gonna get a boot to the ass to make sure that you were in line and make sure that you were a productive member of society. You know what I mean? So I do see a lot of dudes, a lot of young men that do get in this mindset, and a lot of it I do blame on our industry, our media industry, just because, well, what's the number one thing besides women and sex and stuff that they sell on music videos? It's money. Accumulation of money, and now family is not important no more. Now the pursuit of money and greed and all that becomes the prime focus for young men, instead of the priority, which the values I was raised with is start a family, you become the man of the house, and you get your shit done. You know what I mean? But honestly, there could be a lot of blame on a lot of women, because a lot of these men are raised by single women. But at the end of the day, us men have to take responsibility of our own. That's how I was raised. You stick your dick in the wrong hole, you got to make sure that you patch that hole back up. So, yeah, that's my take pretty much. But
all right. Thanks, DJ. I really appreciate that. Horace, man, what do you think?
I'd agree with you on the first part, but post say they failed to keep the gate, pretty secure, and they opened it, and a heathen hopped in, something bad happened, and dad's not around. One reason I think that fathers might not be present could be, or is the way family law works, and family law, there is a heavy emphasis on custody going to the mother, alimony, child support. It's like 92% of all the wealth that the court leverages one way. 92%, I believe it's like 92% of it is favored to
the women.
The woman. And if you're a father, and you're kind of being forced to, you're being coerced into paying for this, and it seems kind of messed up to, well, you should be present, but with the courts being involved, and it could encourage fathers to not be present, or to surrender, or just to walk out completely. Maybe I don't know. Most fathers aren't like abandoned, like fleeing the country over it, but it is affecting how present that they're going to be for the children, and it's unfortunate because they're being punished in a way, not necessarily for being a bad father, but having a failed relationship. And because of the courts favor, because government gets involved, it really affects how the family could adapt. But because state is involved, it's created a new way for women to not need a father figure necessarily for resources in a way, but they're kind of missing out because there's the social parameter that is useful for children to have a father around, but they're not getting.
I totally agree with what you said about the how the laws about child custody and child support, it favors all the women 90%. So that's something that that's good you brought that to the conversation, that we can definitely dive more. I wrote down my notes. We're definitely dive into that tonight. All right. All right. Thanks. Anything else you want to add to that, Forrest?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, like the gate, yeah, I guess it's already screwed up because the gate, woman being the gatekeepers of sex. It's if that so yeah, that should be the first. That's like the phase 0 fight of it. But assuming it fails, yeah, that's one of I guess family law would be another reason why it could be affecting how present fathers could be. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that, Forrest.
Yeah.
All right. Daniela, man, what's your thoughts, Daniela?
Oh man, this topic to me covers a lot of the things we've previously discussed over the podcast we've had so far. So I want to go into a couple of different things. So first one is the sex. I completely agree with, women are the gatekeeper to sex. And based on men's biology, if given the chance to have sex, majority of men will say yes. Our testosterone regulates on a 24-hour basis. So therefore our sex drives are more regular, especially in teenage years. Whereas women go through the 28-day cycle. So therefore their sexual cycle is vastly different to ours. So it goes back to that podcast that we had about, is it toxic to teach young boys to cry? And the reason why I have a strong stance on no, it's not, is that we're exercising in young boys the nature of what the process is when you apply critical thinking. To me, crying is a release of emotional tension. Whereas if you emphasize to your kids, especially young boys, to develop a critical type thinking from an early age, then when they grow older, they can differentiate between biological needs and wants, and be able to have the values that they can to determine the two. Not only that, if we go back to responsibility, that to me equates to commitment, right? So to take up any sort of responsibility, you have to commit to it. So what are the core values that is required for commitment? And to me, there's 3 core values that equates to commitment, and that it's satisfaction, alternative, and investment. You have to be satisfied in the relationship. There has to be no alternative. Otherwise, if there's an alternative, whether you're satisfied or not, you'll explore those alternatives as a man. And investment. So you can have less satisfaction in a relationship and no alternative at all, which women control. So therefore, you have to invest in the relationship you're currently in. So whether you have children or not, especially if you have children, you're forced to invest. And that's why traditional relationship went along the line of men had to court the father before they actually got into a relationship with the women, right? And that's to build the value between the father and the son-in-law, so that the father gets to approve prior to the man marrying the daughter. That's a value proposition that seems to be lacking nowadays, especially with single parents and around single mother. And if for some reason it seems like that's completely taken out of the picture, and the value that it brings for a man to build his value and to have a strong father judge that value based on his own sort of system within his household, that's where women get to gauge who a strong man is and who isn't. And therefore that investment transcend from not just the father, but in a family dynamic. So the father will gauge his own values and require the requirements for whoever's courting his daughter is to have some similar vein to what he has, right? So this is not saying that every father should do this, but you should build value first. So therefore that you get to engage in the relationship that your daughter gets to develop later on. And why the young men nowadays don't commit? There's too many alternatives, and women control this. If there's alternative right, left, right, and center, where's the value proposition for long-term commitment? And we control long-term commitment. But if you could have sex with a woman today and tomorrow have sex with a different woman, if the access is that easy, where's the value? And not only that, Forrest covers the law dynamic, right? It's more favored towards women. Not only that, the statistics between the rise in divorce between men and women are leading divorces. So therefore, what's the value for a man to go into a long-term relationship or commitment if the risk is high with women divorcing them? So, yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I love you brought up the biological perspective on it, because this is something I always have to like explain to women, that just because a man wants to have sex with you doesn't mean he wants to take responsibility for to raise that child with you. And this is something that, and I have to break this down to women, and you guys can all testify to this. Women think that men, we can just have sex anytime we want. Like because they don't understand that why a lot of men won't say no to sex, because the access to sex is that hard for the men who are actually getting sex. So when the man has the opportunity to get sex, he's not gonna say no. All right. And like I said, and I love the point you brought with the father. That's what I said. That's why one of the things I've noticed in the sexual marketplace is controlled by women, because they control access to sex. Like back in the day, a man had to do more work, had to put in effort, had to earn his access to sex. He had to meet the father. He had to come from a good family. He had to show that he had economic stability, that he had his life built together. Before you can even approach to that, you had to build some kind of value in society to show that you're capable as a man and also capable to be a father. And then you went and courted the woman. So we had to, back in the day, the men had to earn. Now, you don't have to earn it. You don't have to earn anything. They're just giving up that ass. So, like you said, why, if they're just giving up, and why would men have to commit? Because the women don't put commitment on the table to make men earn it. So, and then that's why they have, and then they true, like I said, David, you have sex with the wrong hole, with the wrong penis, and then that's what you get. That's what you get. And like I said, that's why I put the accountability on there, because you chose that irresponsible dick, right? And instead of valuing those guys that are actually working hard and putting in work, but those guys are boring, but you want to go with the guys that's irresponsible and having fun and doing this, but that's the choice that the woman has to make. That just responding to what, adding on to what Daniela said. Yeah, thank you, Daniela. Savage, man, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, definitely. I've taken perspective from each one of you, and I definitely hear you loud and clear. And why don't men step up to take responsibility for their kids? To answer that question simply, it may be that they're unprepared. Because I'd like to believe in fairy tale, right, that no man wholeheartedly or cold-heartedly doesn't want to be a part of their child's life. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's a man out there who doesn't want to be a part of their child's life, not only shame on you, but eventually you'll get what's coming to you. You know what I'm saying? And for those of you who are just unprepared, I believe it has a lot to do with your environment. What's normalized around you? What are you seeing that could be, putting you in fear of taking that role of responsibility as a father? You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy for me to say, like, I don't know if we really understand how normalized the stereotype is, specifically here in America, that the deadbeat father, right? That's an actual role in society here that most people understand, whether you're a baby boomer to Gen X to millennial, whatever the hell the case is. You've heard the term deadbeat dad at one point in your life, whether you're 16 now to if you're 40 now. And I'm not just generalizing that down to American society. It could be abroad, anywhere else, Australia, New Zealand, France, wherever. But deadbeat dad is now a normalized and coined term. You don't hear anything about a deadbeat mom. You know what I'm saying? And for a man to step up and take care of their child, we have to understand specifically, and I'm going to speak here in America, Forrest had touched on it, the parameters that are set up for women to succeed without the man. If you are set up in a system where you don't need a man, well, pretty much, hey, go ahead and thrive, because there would be no need. What I'm more worried and concerned about in this conversation is the status of mental health, because if it's really an issue where this man is not capable of taking care of a child now, we have to address that. And if it's a situation where the mother is being very toxic and negative towards the man in the relationship, we have to address that. But then, I think it's already addressed. I don't know how many talk shows have covered this where the man just doesn't want to be there. Maury, my man doesn't want, you are the father. We've seen that, that sells, you know what I'm saying? That sells in media. We see it all the time. But if we're really going to have a conversation about where we're at in modern day society currently in 2021, if the man's not taking care of the child, is it so much or is it a lot of trouble to ask, what the fuck is the woman doing to make it so bad for him? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, we can attack it from an angle of law. We can attack it from an angle of spirituality. We can attack it from an angle of origin. What's going on in your life that made you this way? But I just want to let the guys know who are dealing with this situation about, you know, raising their kid and if not being there. Listen, if you're going through something and it's a question of self-value, that if you're not good enough to raise the child, if you're listening to this and you're going through it right now, I want you to know, man, it's not a perfect process. It's not. Hell, I'm 32 years old right now. I'm still like I'm basically prepared every day to fuck up, big time, ready to fuck up. I'm more contemplating the mistakes I make in front of my kids than I am the successes, right? Because I know at any point in time, if my wife just deems, man, this guy ain't fucking good for my kids, then that's acceptable, right? But should I say it the other way around? Well, when this woman is fucking up, well, now that may be misogynistic. That may be, you know, kind of sexist. But that's just me speaking on trying to establish from all angles. I will go into later in detail about as far as experience about a personal situation where I know a family member of mine who was deported simply because he didn't want to no longer be with the mother, but he did want to be in a part of the child's life, and he hasn't been a part of the child's life for about 20 years now. So this is going to be very touchy, but yeah, man, why don't men step up to take responsibility for their kids? It might just be that I believe they're unprepared. They're simply unprepared, because I don't believe there's men out there who really don't want to be a part of their child's life. And if they are, you're fucking evil.
All right.
I do got one thing to say to add on top as well, but like, I also come from a family of womanizers as well. There's a lot of men out there that be having babies on the side of the marriages, and they don't take care of those kids because they trying to hide those side babies. That's also that I see. I got a lot of cousins, and it happened too. And unfortunately, it happens a lot in our community and our culture. But it's sort of a shame that you bring about in the family, because you went out there and like I said, stuck your dick in the wrong hole again when you were already committed to one.
All right.
And that exactly goes back to what I was saying as far as your environment. What's normalized? Because if we're talking about how many hoes we're fucking and how many, you know, kids we're leaving behind, that's a real conversation that's happening these days.
Oh, don't worry. I got down my notes, fellas. We're gonna dive into that later on tonight. So, fellas, I do wanna attack this from all sides, right? But based on what Savage says, you guys all came from a different perspective. So I want to attack this from the men's side, from the women's side, from the economic side, from the government side, and we're going to cover this for everybody that's watching this right now. But I do want to start off with the government and the economic side, right? So, and because I do a lot of women, they complain, right? Like, why men don't step up? But a lot of for men out there that just had sex and gets a girl pregnant, 90% of the time that they're not going to get the child. The woman has the custody. He's going to end up paying child support, right? And for me, I'm an average guy and I work with average people, and you know how many times I see guys, man, they're working 24/7 just to pay their bills, but their whole check goes to child support. The mom withholds his custody, his rights to go see the child, because based on whatever shit they went through in the relationship, they have some kind of beef, whatever. She doesn't want to have the kids. So this guy is working. So this man is working hard. His finances is given to the woman, and he can't even see his child because all the rights go to the father. What's the incentive, right? What's the motivation, right? What's the motivation to do better, to become better? Because taking responsibility is the decision to do better. Right? That's what responsibility is. You decided, I'm going to take responsibility to do better. But if you take away the incentive, because now, like Savage said, Uncle Sam has become the daddy. Right? If you're feeling, so what's the incentive for men? You know what? What's the point of me taking responsibility? You know what? I'm not just cut my losses and go give me another check and start a whole new family and disappear and go to another state. You know what I'm saying? So I want to dive into that part, because that's a side that women never want to see, never see of what men go through. And so I want to talk about the government side, the economic side. What's your perspective on it? What's your experience with men that go through it with the have issues with the child custody, with the baby mama issues. They're working hard every single day to pay their check. They can barely stand on 2 feet themselves, but they have to. Majority of their paycheck goes to the baby mama, but like I said, that's just the reality the men have to live through. So I'll start with you. I'll start with you, David. What are your thoughts about the Uncle Sam and the government being involved? And then men, like I said, we can't. If the woman decides not to steal our kids, hey, we can't do nothing about it, right? If the court comes in and takes our paycheck over men, right? We thought we were supposed to take responsibility and be motivated to be a better father with all these restrictions that's put on men based on the law of society. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I actually, one of my very close friends at the moment, I think they take like 3/4 of his check, and he lives off of like $200 every 2 weeks. And he's still paying child support for 2 children that are already over the age of 18 that he should not even be paying for at the moment. But at the end of the day, our system is fucked up. But a lot of these women, unfortunately, man, it's the same thing, man, when you get caught up with the wrong female, when their mentality is not there, they're going to use every inch that they can to take advantage of you. It's just like everybody else out here, man. They trying to make it life easier for themselves. How they going to do it? The next sucker that's going to come up and try to have a baby with their ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, I think just me as a father, because I do have a daughter and I got 2 sons. Like, that's one thing that I got to teach my sons. Like, you have to understand where you going to do and what the consequences is. You go with the wrong girl, she's going to squeeze you for every dime, every dollar. I'm a former athlete. You see this happen to athletes all the time. There's women that come after these athletes, and some of them on disrespectful levels to the fact where they have been arrested for false rape. Shout out to Brian Banks, and he served 10+ years. Come to find out, it never happened. Yeah. And there was no justice toward, like, the woman didn't serve nothing happened to her. So a lot of times women just use their own personal vendettas to stretch you for everything that you got. But that's one thing that I'm trying to tune my boys into, is you got to be ahead of the game before you jump into the game.
All right, no worries. And I remember, before I pass it on to Forrest, I remember that I was talking to some girls, and I remember one of them were like, they were just fucking around. And then I asked them, don't you care about, like, getting knocked up by the wrong guy getting pregnant? And literally, this is what she said: don't worry, Uncle Sam will take care of me. Literally, I remember she said that. She said that. And I'm telling you guys right now, this is my personal opinion. But I believe that the laws, if they remove child support, if they remove alimony, and put their accountability on the women will think twice about going out there and sleeping with the wrong man. But because everything is leveraged on the men, they're like, you know what, it's all good, because if I fuck up, don't worry, Uncle Sam got me, and I'm gonna get the custody of the kids. I'm gonna get the child support. Like, there's no accountability on my end, so I'm good. So, and like I said, I heard that's crazy. When I heard that, I was like, damn, that's the society we live in today. So wrap that dick, fellas, wrap those dicks, man. Forrest, what's your thoughts? What's about Uncle Sam and the government being involved? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like the government. Uncle Sam has sort of replaced the father figure. I guess in that one way, providing resources. But there are other ways that having a father around is useful for not just the mother, but especially the children. I was watching something. It was like a talk show or something. They were saying, one of the ladies was saying that if you looked at it was a high figure, like 70-80% of people who are in prison for, I think it might have even been even just like violent crime alone. Of 70 or 80% of all violent criminals were raised by single mothers, and there's it might not be immediately obvious why that might be, but there seems to be a correlation, young men especially are going to be more prone to violence being raised by a single mother. It doesn't seem to pan out well. And earlier you were talking about how with something that came to mind was how honestly it's kind of ridiculous that you could get away with not respecting a woman yet sleeping with her, and that part of might be part of why fathers might be absent, is like they popped a nut off in a chick that they didn't even like, and now they're looking at it not as a responsibility but as a burden, and they are going to be avoidant of it. And but if, and you know, chivalry is pretty dead. But you also, I guess one of the things you're talking about earlier, you don't really have to be chivalrous to engage in an intimate relationship with a woman. And I wouldn't put, you know, the onus just on women. It's like it's a two-way street, but it definitely doesn't help that, you know, that you can get away with you know, not actually you know, respecting women and being that intimate with them. And then you know, recently I've been going to an Orthodox church, maybe like the last 4 weeks, and one thing I wasn't expecting was that there's modesty there, and I've been you know, responsive to it in a way that is good, that I don't really get to see too often in other places in our culture. You know, they're wearing like I don't even know what you call it, but like, it's not a burqa. They're wearing, you know, things over their head, the way they're dressing, the way they're behaving. And, you know, maybe part of it is, you know, me getting a bit older, but yeah, I like that. I like seeing that sort of stuff. Not so much what, you know, what is, you know, rampant in our culture, you know, the last, you know, like decades, you know.
Yeah, thank you, Forrest. And yeah, that statistic, I saw that as well. Over 80% of criminals incarceration come from single mother households, right? So and you know, that's a real thing. So Daniela, what's your thoughts? Government, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, what's the incentive for men? There is no incentive economically. You are at a disadvantage, especially with how the legal system, it's not just in the US, it's also here. So the legal system highly favors the women, right? Well, what's the incentive? For us men, if you're watching this, the incentive for you is to raise good, strong men so that they don't contribute to the statistic that we're talking about here, right? I'm under the belief system that if you are a strong man, any woman that you choose to be your partner will fall in line regardless of whether she's independent, she's rebellious or not. Your value transcends that societal shift that we're currently seeing with relationship and the independence in women, which is not a bad thing. It gains women the short-term benefit of being independent and doing whatever they like, but the long term is that, like we're saying with single mothers, there are more chances for your children to be incarcerated, commit crime. Not only that, mental health instability and suicide. That is what we are exposing our kids when you only have one single parent in the household. So as much as we talk about women contributing to a lot of what we're seeing in modern day society, for us men, it's more vital now that we look at how we have come up with our value system. I am a outlier in the sense that my environment bred me to kill myself, in a sense, right? I was raised with a widow dad from a young age, so I was pushed into the man's world at the age of 6. At the age of 11, I was raped by a group of other men in my high school stay. And not only that, I came to New Zealand and I was homeless and an overstayer. So the government was looking to deport me. And all throughout those stages, you know, it was so easy to just succumb to my own emotional state and to say, fuck this. My life has bred me and my environment has said to me, you cannot make it. But here's the big thing that I speak to a lot of young men about. As an adult, you have the choice to create your own values, regardless of what your environment is, regardless of what you've been exposed to. You, at the age of 25, have now developed majority of your brain function. You should be able to make the decision whether what contributes to your own benefit from a logical standpoint. I have recent experience with my brother and brother-in-law. My brother, my biological brother, is exactly what Savage says. He's not interested in being part of his child's life. He's got a daughter who's 5 years old, and as a father, every time I see her, I can see that she's emotionally, mentally, and physically drained. And as a father, we get to see those development in our children, regardless whether they utter a word or not. But he doesn't see that. He's more interested in gaining social media status and chasing that paper or whatever, and whatever means that he's willing to justify it. Whereas in my brother-in-law, he's now his partner has now chosen to go with another man, and they have 2 children. They got an older daughter and a son, and he's now going through depression because he wants to be involved not only in the relationship but also for his kids. So 2 very different scenarios that plays both part. And being an outlier, one of the things that's contributed to how I see commitment is that I was able to identify these issues very, very earlier on. And as much as we talk about incentive on a legal system, for us men, and if you're watching this, the incentive for you is to raise good, strong men, so that we create a society where it's not contributing to all these statistics. And for the women, I don't know where we are under this pretense or this notion that we are under a patriarchal utopia. Majority of the prison system are occupied by men. Majority of suicide statistics are men. So where's the patriarchy in society in that sense? Women now are more independent. Women are able to divorce men easier. They get help from the legal system. So in terms of an economical and not only that, a mental health incentive, there is none. So that's why not only I have that standpoint, but I see more value in men creating their values more so than ever. You have to identify these. Society is not built to make you recognize these issues, in the sense that it's allowing you to satisfy a need or a want instantly, but the long-term effect of it is not easily identified. And like the men have said, social media contribute to a lot of that that veil. We're not seeing long-term because social media is all about instant gratification.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for sharing that part right there. And that's one of the toughest things. Like a lot of men need to understand. I love the part you put the incentive. Like, yeah, because the incentive is like raising good children, strong children, so that way the struggle ends with you, and then so that we can create break the generation, and so that way your kids have a better life than yours. Because I have friends that complain all the time. I'm like, yeah. I mean, if you don't stop, then who's gonna stop? It's gonna continue. Right. So you might as well take the responsibility and end it with you, so that way your kids can have a better life. Savage, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, man. Besides the fact trying to hold back emotions because of hearing those accounts, but I mean, it's very real, man. Is there incentives? No. I mean, even if there's like systems, programs out there to, help with things like financial stability, mental health and things of that nature when going through a case of like child support, because you're not there to physically raise your child, whether, depending on your current situation, whether you want to or you do want to, but because of the mother, there's a situation going on there. Like there's a lot of anger in there's a lot of anger in me to answer that question, because it's so normalized to, hey, you had the child, but we're going to give you dog shit, so have a good life. You get what I'm saying? Have dog shit and have a good life. And there are the good men out there who I will highlight, who are trying their best, their damn best, to not only turn it back around, but to showcase, I'm here. I'm fucking here. I'm trying to be here. I don't even know how this even works or how to go about this. But most of these men we're mentioning are fucking young. They're young. They're fucking young men. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to bring up the statistic, but I know alone just in America, these boys or these young men that are stepping out of, these relationships are not even married, because they're usually happening between high school to college. And it goes back to what I was saying as far as what's being normalized in the environment, right? So if I didn't have a father growing up, then I don't know the consequences of putting my penis into something and producing a child, because it's regulated where If I do it, oh, I didn't know I was gonna have a baby. Fuck, man. And then that not only is that young man not ready or prepared to be a father, you just did it at 18, you just did it at 19, 20, 21, 22. All the years that you missed a father for in your life to run you through the ropes, you now not only are in a dog shit situation, you don't have the experience. You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I grew up in a household where I grew up with my grandma and my grandpa. There is no child support in Tonga like that. You know what I'm saying? In Tonga, it's the format or the mold is this: mother, father, dad's out in Utah, mom's at home with the kids and cooking. Now be it that it's, you know, it's very older way of living. It's a traditional way. It's very, very traditional, but that's their happiness. That's what they look for in society. That's what they're working on. And to be honest with you, you know, I'm not comparing this society to that society. What I'm saying is looking at every other situation and then comparing to where we're at today in American society. It's a tough thing to know that our government doesn't value the men in our society. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Whether that applies to New Zealand or Australia, just as many programs as there are to help the women to succeed as far as single motherhood, where are the programs to help the fathers that are fucking dealing with this? You know, yeah, there's very little, because there are some out there, but not enough that are effective, right? So as far as these incentives go, there's no reward for a single father. There is not. The only reward the single father is going to have is, I love you guys. I don't know what's going to happen after this. I don't even know if I'll be in, you know, part of your life for the remainder, but just know, because of the law, I can't come see you. I can only pick you up on Tuesday and Thursday. I can only pick you up on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays because of how your mom feels about the current situation. And I'm not telling you to hate your mom, but right now, as things stand, my daughter, my son, you just got to go with it. I'm trying my best to, and the kids are not going to understand that. They're not going to understand that because this is now normalized that my dad can't fucking raise me because the law says he can't. Because with what my mother wants as far as agreements and terms and conditions. You get what I'm saying? So the incentive is this: at least you get to see your child, okay? At least you get to see your child. And realistically, I mean, I've heard it. I mean, they had songs, you know, girl, get that check. Girl, get that check. Why is that a thing? Girl, get that check. Why is that even a fucking thing? You know, if it fucks up, girl, get the check. You know what happens if a guy fucks up? You know, oh, that's it. Hey, just keep fucking these hoes and shit like that. And, you know, it's too far gone to find out where the root of the problem goes. But it's all about normalizing mom and dad figures everywhere. You know, I can't speak for the current situations and relationships of people going through it these days. But I'm always trying my best every day to understand my wife in order to make sure my kids know me and my wife are happy first before you guys are happy. So that you know that our household stands strong on a good foundation. You know, there's going to be days where I'm going to highlight mommy more than I highlight you guys. And that's the showcase that I love her first before I love you guys. So that whenever it's your turn to have the relationship that you're looking for in life, that you understand this is what it was about the whole time. And if somewhere down the line, if those pillars stand strong and my kids understand that, then you will never have to worry about, you know, being a single father or a single mother. And as far as the speaking from the men's perspective on it, there are good women out there who are faced with shitty situations as far as men who are just douchebags, but it's not a big enough statistic to really speak on, because really majority of these situations that we're faced with are guys are meeting the shit end of the stick. So, I mean, there's just going to be a lot of things I'm going to say that's going to piss people off, but I would really like to see the women who complain about the men as far as not being there for their kids, pick up a hard hat, go do construction. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and do the hard labor job and understand that this broken man is not only trying his best to work it out for you and the children, but there's pretty much not only not going to be anything left for him, he's drained and he's working on 50%. He will never be 100%. This motherfucker is running on empty majority of the fucking time. And he still hopefully has enough, you know, mana or energy within him to be there for the children. Although you make obstacles and fucking, you know, bumps in the roads for him to be there for his kids. So, and that's not majority of women. That's not majority of women, but that right now in this conversation is the majority right now. So with that being said, for any of the young men or the men now that are going through it, brother, hold on. fucking hold on. You get what I'm saying? I'd rather you die trying than not try at all.
Stop being a hoe.
Yes, sir.
All right. I like that. All right, appreciate that. Yeah, and just to go off by Savage said, that's one thing I've noticed. Like, just talk shows about women, what women go through. It's all over social media, right? And it's all over mainstream media. But where are the talk shows that talk about what men go through, on the mainstream, right? Usually these type of conversations that we're having around talk about men, what we go through in life, is usually like on YouTube, the small limited channels. But if you look at mainstream, there's all these shows about women, empowering women, talk about what they go through. If you're a single mom, you can do this. You see it all the time. You can just look at I think one of them is called The Real. I think that's The Real. That's The Real on talk about women. They talk about what women go through being single moms and everything. But if you look at mainstream media, I don't know of a single show right now that's talking about what men go through, talking about single fathers and what we have to go through. And about our men are supposed to be incentivized to do better, right? But but like I said, if you're out there watching this right now, man, just like I said, hold on and surround yourself with strong men out there and keep going. There's nothing you can do but just keep going. I do want to, Natasha, I do see you. Natasha, I do see you, and I see a phone number 70. Wait, I want to read the phone number so people might call you. I don't know if that's your phone number or that's just a random number, so I won't read it. But it starts with the.
What up, y'all?
Hey, what's up, man? What's up with the limit?
Yo, what is up with the sound?
You hear me? All right, I'm gonna mute you real quick, and then I'll mute you back on. Okay, I want to circle back. So we talked about the economic side, the government, Uncle Sam's side. I do want to circle back something that David said and attack it from. So David, I know you mentioned for men out there, stop sticking your stick in the wrong fucking hole, right? Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? Because you talked about the culture, music influencing men. If you're fucking bitches, hoes, that's what a man's supposed to do. That's the life that we should aspire to be, is having all these multiple women and living that lifestyle. So that's something that I see a lot of younger generation. That's what their main priority is, especially growing up in middle school, high school, right? I think there was a statistic that showed that 80% of virginity, 60% of virginity is already lost by senior year in high school. So kids are fucking now at an earlier age than any other generation. So I want to ask you guys. So let's talk about this culture that a lot of men are listening to. Like, you're supposed to go out there and have all these bitches, and if you don't have bitches and if you don't have all these women, then you failed as a man. So a lot of times when guys finally get the opportunity to get some of JJ, they just dive in. They don't even think about the consequences, right? So I want to talk about your perspective growing up and what was told. What did you hear growing up when it comes to having sex with multiple women, and then what's your perspective now after going through life and having sex and realizing that lifestyle having multiple women, it's not they don't give you the full reality of what it really is. It's like it's better off just finding one solid good woman and building a life together. Because I believe the purpose of a man should not be the focus of women. I think the purpose of a man is to focus on your purpose as a man, and the byproduct of being a great man, you get the women, right? If you focus on you become a great man. Work on your success, work on your purpose. The byproduct is the women come to you, but not you going and chase women and sacrificing your opportunities to become a better man. But for women, that's what a lot of young men think now, and that's why they stick it to the wrong hole, and then they get stuck in the system. But I want to talk about that perspective. Go ahead.
Sure. So for me, I was raised around a lot of men that were of the streets. My dad's side, they're all of the gang life, and by way of Carson, California. Shout out to Barson Biddy. But when it comes to that type of culture, the LA culture is all about music and all about the street life and pimping hoes and gaining money and all that. That's celebrated. Like losing your virginity before high school, that's celebrated. Like your uncles will sit there and applaud you and be like, man, that's how you become a man. Boozy
and if you don't lose it by high school years, you're seen as weak or
right. And Boozy was on live how long ago talking about like he had grown women go into his son's room and go get a nut off, and those boys were only like 11 to 12 years old. So it's also like, what are we teaching our young men? I'm sorry, but I'm high as hell. I'm terrible with names. But my brother from New Zealand over there spoke on like, what value are we teaching ourselves? Like, what kind of men are we building? Like some of the twerking videos that you have posted before, brother. Shout out to my boy Baymax and Fat Boy. Some of those videos were created because of a twerking challenge that were created by men. We started shit. So we need to fix inwards first before, like you said, once you start focus on you and your goals and what you supposed to become as a man, that woman is going to come. But the way that we celebrate ourselves as men, we need to correct that within ourselves. Just having normalized conversations like this of all of us coming together, this is different. My dad would be like, what the you want to talk for what? Go talk to yourself. The fuck? You know what I mean? Like, just us coming together, this is what changes that rhetoric. Now I could go to my sons, I could go to them like, you could talk to other men. You got issues. You could talk to me. You could talk to your uncle. You could come on to william-nacouzi's podcast. And you could come and talk to other men. You know what I mean? Like, and just us creating that safe space, that's important. Like you said, because mainstream media doesn't apply that. One of my favorite podcasts out right now is the I Am Athlete podcast.
Yeah,
and it's a bunch of former NFL pros, and they talk openly about this. I have two very close friends of mine. They're my best friend from middle school, my best friend in high school. They both committed suicide 4 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago each. One of them was a father of 3, and one of them, man, he was laughing every day. I would have never fucking thought. And just knowing that a man's mental could get to that state, that's something that I'm trying to instill in my son, like my sons, that we need to talk this thing out. Anything that you have built up, you can't let that thing build up. Yeah, you could go out there, be an athlete like we're told to be, go out there, do all that, but the most important thing is communication.
All right. Hey, David, I want to ask you something. In the Avocado podcast, we keep it real. So no, you said, this is for all the men out. I'm gonna ask you this question because this is for all the men out there that think that life is all about getting women and fucking bitches, right? So you said you were a former athlete.
Yes, sir.
And we know athletes get bitches.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So you went. I'm sure you had your plethora of women. So
right.
what was your did you find happiness in that? Was it fulfilling getting all these women, because that's what narrative is, right? You get all these women, that's where you're gonna have happiness. You're gonna get. That's what a man's supposed to be. And then I want you to just be real, because every single man I've talked to that had a lot of women, they're like, it's not healthy.
Let me be 100% honest with you. It does not matter what bitch you bring into your life. It does not matter if it is a plethora of them. It does not matter if it is the one that you think that you're going to settle with. I have been married happily on and off for the past 11 years 7 years. We've been together for 11. And she can attest to the same. Happiness has not been here throughout those 11 years.
Yeah.
So no matter what, one thing that I've learned throughout this journey is that even though I've been with my wife, we've got together right out of college, I never learned me. So because I never learned me, through the process of trying to learn her, there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misdirection, because I'm trying to focus on how I can communicate to you better. But even within myself, I don't even know how to talk to myself. That's one of the biggest problems. And one thing that I try to stress, especially to a lot of my boys that are single, brother, stop focusing on all these females. Focus here. Focus here. That'll be the biggest thing. That'll be the most important thing for you to set yourself. Like I said, one of my brothers committed suicide right in front of his baby mama. If that does not tell you more than anything, brother, you need to focus here. Focus here, make this right. Everything will come in line, just like you said, Will.
All right, for sure, man. Thank you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And before I go to you first, I just want to welcome our last and final guest to the panel. Can you hear us, Vitalemi? Can you hear us? Oh, you hear?
Mike's muted.
Your mic is mute. Your mic is mute.
What about now?
Oh, you're good. You're good. You're good.
I'm Ptolemy.
What's up, bro?
What's up, bro?
Appreciate the invite. My apologies for being late. I just had some work going through. And then I guess when I joined in earlier, there was audio issues. And thanks, David, for sharing that, man. That's some tough thing to go through with your friends and all that, taking their lives for whatever reason. And then just to add on what you were talking about as far as like the communication with your dad kind of like pushed it away, talk to yourself. For me, and at least in my family, luckily my dad actually encouraged us, my brothers and I, to talk to him more often and to talk to our mom too. But he also said it would probably be best as far as women only talk to your sisters and your mom. That's what he also told me. Because like generally, at least right now these days, women they can't handle when a man gets vulnerable with them. They feel like it's too much and they start looking down at him. And that's kind of why my dad was like try to talk to your friends first about it and don't even get your girl involved or whoever it is, because it's difficult for them. Because sometimes they got to go through their own emotions. And for us men, our emotions are different. We're just very different types of people. And then that's how I did. But
if let me real quick, can you introduce yourself real quick to everybody? Who you are, what do you do? So everybody know who you are.
I'll go first. I'm in school right now. It's my last year, prepping for PT school for my doctorate. I live in Cedar City, Utah right now. I'm from Vegas. Yeah. I got family in Florida. And then as far as origin, my family comes from Haiti. In the
okay. All right, for sure. We got three people.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Vita, where are you from?
I'm from Vegas.
Well, I mean, before that, because your name says otherwise.
Haiti. My family's from Haiti.
Haiti. Okay, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
All right, for sure. So, Vita, what's your thoughts on why don't men take responsibility for their kids in modern society? Just share your thoughts real quick.
I think what it is most of the times the men get involved in the situations with the girl. They're just in it for the thrill. They're not even concerned about that. Sometimes the girl actually pushes them to wear protection and all that stuff, but then she like lets her guard down and he's like, man, I don't need it, et cetera, et cetera. But that's just a technicality. As far as like the responsibility, I think that's why a lot of men turn their backs on it. It's a huge responsibility that they're not ready for, and they think it would be easier to walk out. But that being said, the women have the choice. They choose they have the key to sex, and they choose who they sleep with. So regardless of whatever the man does, it's her decision to either pick a better man or choose not to have sex. Obviously, in those other cases when it's forced, rape, and all that, that's a different situation. But as far as what we're talking about, consensual sex, leading to a child out of wedlock, obviously us men need to step up. But I think women need to stop messing around with dudes that aren't willing to step up and be responsible men and raise their children.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Vita. I appreciate joining us, and we can definitely have more. We got some time, and we definitely gonna jump on some share opinions on other things we're gonna share about tonight. I'm gonna come back to you, Vita. I'm gonna go straight to Forrest. The same thing I talked about with David. You know, just what's your experience with it? You know, this whole generation that of men. You know, telling men, hey, go out there, have kids, have hoes. You know, this is what men are supposed to be. And what's your experience? You know, did you go through the whole phase and get some hoes out there for us?
Yeah. Growing up, like early, like 9th, 10th grade, dudes start losing their virginity, and it can be real exciting. You can feel inspired, and when it happens to you, it can even be, it can even feel glorious. And getting, you call it like what's become, popular is, you call it hookup culture. People just, I guess basically your hedonism, you value pleasure over purpose. And this is not going to make me popular, but I like after, living through, that sort of lifestyle or seeing it around, I don't find it as fruitful as in a long term, especially for just a life strategy or even society at large. Because all we're doing is, you're kind of, you're screwing someone else's, daughter or future wife that you don't even are particularly fond of right now, at least, or even ever. And you're kind of tarnishing, a purity in a way when for someone else. And earlier you were talking about, and it can be very time consuming. And you're talking earlier about pursuing, a goal that you might have, and that's a lot better to do with your time than seeking out as many, short-term sexual partners as possible. Because it can, and, I might still even be guilty of it here and there, but like it can be very, very time consuming. And it's worth it if you're only seeking pleasure, and that only goes so far, and it's very fleeting. And I don't think it's I think we'd be better off if we went back to a society that was structured in a more traditional way, and it wasn't as easy to be so hedonistic, it would be more instrumental towards marriage and not casual. Because I guess if you're just looking, for casual, you just have casual sex, but you could have maybe perhaps something beautiful instead of something casual.
Yeah. And I know, Forrest, I know you're in the army, right? I mean the military. I'm sorry, military, right? Yeah. I heard a lot of holes in the military. Is that true?
A lot of holes. A lot of broke holes, a lot of busted holes. It's hit or miss, but yeah. Coming in the military too, like earlier, I can't pronounce him, but he was mentioning he brought up patriarchy, and I think we need more patriarchy. We need like more positive masculinity around. And being in the Marine Corps, it is basically just a patriarchy, but as I was in it, it was frustrating to watch, elements of our culture that are not what's up, not what's hot in the street, affecting the Marine Corps. So one of the ways that would happen is, or has happened, is putting females in the infantry. And being in the infantry, having discussions about it, we talk, any dude, there were a few who'd be in favor of females in the infantry, and their incentive wasn't, authentic. It was, to get, slam some vajayjay out in the field, and it wasn't because they thought it would make us more combat effective.
Yeah.
And the Marine Corps was tasked with, doing an all-female integrated task force, half male, half female, and then an all-male unit. So yeah, it was all male, all female, and then a mixed integrated task force. And they ran ranges, and they crunched the numbers on the performance, the combat effectiveness, and the time that they were able to complete these exercises. And the all male absolutely obliterated the all female, and absolutely obliterated the mixed female, mixed male. And our Secretary of Defense, started bashing I don't think it was like the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, or the senior enlisted in charge of the whole thing, for almost like trying to make women look worse. He gave it a real go, and that's just how it pans out. And it's to me, it's rather self-evident that that's how that was going to happen, but that's not what the Secretary of Defense wanted to see. So it just sucks to see our society try and push this pro masculinized females in front of our faces, as if that's how we're designed to be. And I think if we were to do that, it's going to come at our own peril. It's not something that's going to fan out well. And like the incentives that dudes had for being in favor of that were not coming from a good place. It was purely out of more potentially more sexual opportunities. And I don't see that as something that would be good in that sort of thing.
Yeah, appreciate that, Forrest. Thank you, man. Thank you. And I want to pass it on to Daniela. Daniela, what's your thoughts, man, about the narrative that men go out there, have sex with multiple women? That should be the goal, their focus. And what was your experience with it?
Yeah, so I mentioned it a couple of times in the previous podcast that you've got me on. My experience with sex started when I was 11 years old, and that comes from a world where my mother passed when I was 6, and I was thrown into the realm of older boys and teenagers. Majority of my peers at the time were 4 to 6 years older than me, so my level of gauge on what sex was highly elevated from a very young age, to the point where I had sex at a very young age. And when we look at the society that we are in now, the perception of sex is blown out of proportion, in the sense that because it's widely available, it's now part of the metric of what makes a man. And we need to dissect that and unpack where that metric has come from. And like what Forrest and David said, it's the trouble with a major shift in any societal value is that you go to the extreme first before you set your boundaries. So you go to the extreme and then you find your boundaries from there, but at what cost? We don't know quite yet. I think majority of men now are facing a lot of that, the negativity of not knowing where that boundary is. Also, women are also suffering from it, but for some reason, we are under, well, majority of women are under the delusion that it's all fine, it's all dandy. We set the boundaries where, no, it takes both men and female to set those boundaries. I think with the metric of men having to have sex with multiple women, that's why I have a strong advice for a lot of men who are quite hormonal, especially young men. Sex work has been around for eons. If you need to get off, go and find a sex whorehouse and get off, or go on the internet. And also a big reason why I'm a proponent of differentiating dating from relationship. You should date to find complementary values between male and female. And not only that, gauge what compromise that elevates your values both as a male and female, and what you bring into the relationship, if that's the long-term goal. So that's where we come in. And also, not only that, we often discuss these topics in the assumption that all men and women are self-aware. That's one thing that we also need to bring into the conversation. Majority of men and women aren't. So therefore, they won't come to these conclusions on their own, even if you talk to them. I've had a lot of people, I've spoken to them under the assumption that they can differentiate different things, the same level of self-aware that I have, and I've come to realize that it's not always the case. You have to strategize ways of making them see the bigger picture, but not always having to engage them logically. So when we look at strategies of how to communicate to people, we need to be self-aware of what we're capable of in terms of our level of analysis, and also be able to analyze how people are aware of the situation they're in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then Natasha, I do see you, Natasha. I see you in the waiting room. I will add you. I will add to you guys. We'll add you pretty soon. Let me just finish going around the panel. Savage, what's your thoughts about, young boys being told, like, go out there and get multiple women?
So, well, my name's Savage, and I'm a 32-year-old man, and I have a penis, hopefully. And the problem with my penis is it has a mind of its own. Like, I don't know what the fuck, like, literally, right? So before I check into the environment, I believe that what I'm establishing here is this. Even though I have a penis and it has urges, what separates me from the animals is I can control those urges. You get what I'm saying? So the penis doesn't make the man makes the penis. That's a weird analogy, and I don't know why I went there with that, but I was trying to highlight this, right? When I was growing up, personally, the body count was the thing to do, right? And with no context, nobody knew why, but we needed a high body count as a man. Oh, well, fuck, bro. You're 14 now. You better get catching up right now. 15, bro, your time's going. You don't got a lot of time. 16, 17, 18. And, these guys are like made fun of because, bro, you going to lose it tonight in the prom of all places. You didn't do it in freshman year. Like, this shit was normalized around me. Like, it's ridiculous, but you were supposed to lose that thing a long time ago. Nah, bro, I kind of value myself. Value you. Yo, this dude gay as fuck. What in the world? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the environment I come from. So it's easily understood that when, you're 18 and you have no body count, how easily you can be put out as a bitch. You a fucking weenie, dog. You ain't been out in these streets swinging that dick around. Are you serious? You're supposed to be slinging this dick like a new jack. And if that's what's normalized, then by all means, go get the body count. Because at the end of the day of it, right, what was the real gain in it? Because I would say majority of the guys that I know, mentally fucked. You know what I'm saying? There was no goal to it. It was just do it, fulfill the urge, fulfill the physical fucking need, but no spiritual and mental context to why it was happening in the first place. So, here I am, 18 years old, and I'm going to get, and the only reason why I'm going from a personal experience is I'm going to establish my point, but I have to tell this story. So, bear in mind, kids, 18, if you're not 18, get the fuck out. Here I am, I'm 18 years old, and I'm getting ready to, catch my first body. And I just remember the pressure of like, fuck, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm talking good shit. I was talking a damn good, I was damn near up there with Money Mayweather and guys like fucking Mystic Mac, right? I'm talking a damn good bitch. Oh man, I'm about to bend your ass over. I'm about to give you the fucking business. You don't even fucking all of these inches. And then we get in the room and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking shaking. What in the fucking world is happening? Am I having performance anxiety? And shit starts to happen, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yo, he usually gets up. Trust me, it's gonna take a while. Give me a second. It's gonna get up there. You gotta kiss me here and all that shit. All this starts happening, and then I realize I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I really don't know what the fuck. All this shit that I was preparing myself for, and all this was supposed to happen. I just now realized, like, I'm out here with the lack of information, a lack of knowledge, and then with all that shit happening, the real problem comes in now is like, because I have the lack of information and knowledge, I'm just out there doing what everybody else is doing with no context, and therefore creating more of a problem in society than having a fucking solution, right? So because I do that, I go outside. So, 5 minutes after, yeah, brothers, yeah, I did it, man. We went for hours. No, you didn't, bro. Shut the fuck up. You was only in there for about 3 to 5 minutes, bullshitting ass. You know what I'm saying? So like, you tell the big stories, and you're the guy on campus, and then when you do settle down with somebody you love, you realize and you look back at like, how many guys did I lead astray? Holy fuck, man. I was a horrible fucking example of a person. Will, there was times where I didn't even contemplate what I was really saying and doing. There was so many fucking young men that I led astray because of my lack of fucking knowledge. Telling guys like, man, if you ain't losing it, man, then you a loser. You know what I'm saying? I was given that kind of advice, because it was normalized to me. I passed it on. Now where I'm at my age, should my sons ever come up to me and like say, hey, your cousin said that you used to F all the hoes, Dad. What's all that stuff you used to teach us? And then, that's what we hear about you. I'm gonna have to own up for that shit. I'm gonna have to own up for all that shit because of all the misinformation I put out there. And as far as young men, sit your fucking ass at home. Find a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Get involved in books and research and studies. Tap into conspiracy. Play a fucking PS5, 6, 7, 8. I don't give a fuck what it is. Sex is all overrated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a reason why, that we don't live a polyamorous lifestyle. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. There's swingers out there and shit. People, polygamy still exists, but
minority,
yeah, but that's a very minor group. You know what I'm saying? But really, if we're not promoting more monogamy and how to do it, then yeah, we're gonna have these motherfuckers out there at 12, 11, 10 doing shit they shouldn't be doing, and then creating problems from themselves that they have no answers for. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine being 11 years old, having sex with a 30-year-old person and not understanding what's really going on with you, and then processing that later when you get older? And that's no shot towards Daniela, but I'm highlighting the fact that because you are engaging in a physical act and you don't have the information on it, like what you're really setting yourself up for is mental disturbance. That's what it is. Because you're desensitizing yourself to the act of true lovemaking, right? the act of intercourse with the one you truly love, because you did it so early at an age where you had no context in doing it. Now it kind of devalues yourself physically. What do I have to offer, man? I've done it with so many people. I don't even know if I can really, see this girl any different from any of my partners. But that's no shot towards anybody. I just highlight that to, young men listening to this. Look, man, I'm an old ass man, and I've been around the block a couple of times. I'm only telling you this from experience, not telling you this because I'm obligated to. I ain't sponsored. I ain't making money off this shit. If you are happy and you understand the consequences and the repercussions of what the act you're about to engage in, then by all means, I can't tell you what to do. I ain't your fucking dad. But I will tell you this. When the day comes and you find the one you love, I hope that you can perform not only to the highest expected level, but that you do so out of passion and not obligation. So with that being said, yeah, young men, man, be smart. That's it.
I'll just add on to what Savage was watching, right? So I can identify, and I'm computing this in real time. I can identify my perception on sex, and it wasn't so much for me anyway. And this is why I usually call myself an anomaly, whatever that word is. My sexual preference came from Don Juan de Marco. There's a movie on Don Juan de Marco.
Yeah.
So instead of body count, my aim was to be the best sexual lover that anyone was to ever have. Right. So instead of quantity, I can identify that with this conversation that was my whole present. But I can also understand that that's not all men. So yeah, no, it's quite cool to hear what Savage was saying, because sometimes my brain works a weird way and compute certain things and make connections when we have the conversation.
Now, I love what Savage said, desensitizing when you have sex with multiple women and not understanding the psychological and emotional context to it, the mental context to it, because, intimacy, when you have sex with a woman, that's intimacy is usually how we connect a real relationship with the woman is when you have sex. Right? If a man doesn't understand the mental, emotional, and spiritual context of having sex, and just going out there and just having sex, then it's really, really hard for you to connect emotionally and mentally and spiritually with the woman and building something meaningful. And you won't be able to distinguish that because you're just giving it out to everybody out there. And you can't recognize the good woman. And also for all the young men out there that think they have to give it up by 17, 18, I'm telling you, the great thing about men, we build our value. So even as we get older and you focus on the purpose, you still get sex. Doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40. So there is time, right? There is time. So this narrative that if you don't get it by 18, 19, or by high school or by college, that it's over. No, it's not. As men, if you walk into yourself, you still get sex later on. So I just want to put it out there. So Vita, what's your thoughts, man?
As far as what Savage had to say, I agree. I just want to go back with Faya. I probably mispronounced your name, man. It's my bad. But just to go on the advice as far as men using the internet to remove sexual energy, I personally disagree, because me right now, I'm struggling with pornography addiction, and I feel like that outlet can lead to a lot of young men astray, because that's part of the reason why a lot of men don't act like men, because they've been desensitized, they've been stuck to a screen hours on hours instead of working on their craft wherever they are. They'd rather waste their time in the bathroom or whatever, being out to whatever. And that's another thing too on why sex has become less taboo. It's because pornography is mainstream, it's everywhere, easy access, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why I would say it would be better for any individual to not use internet to release their sexual energy and find more positive outlets, whether it be working out, studying, running, reading new habits, et cetera, because then you can build healthier habits instead of leading to that pornography addiction. Maybe for you or whoever can use that as a healthy outlet and not get indulged or addicted. But for me and a few other people I know, it was some dark times.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think you made a great point. I think for me, it's the gluttony or too much of anything in life is always going to be unhealthy. If you eat too much food, you're going to be unhealthy. If you have too much sex, it's unhealthy. If you have too much money and let money use it, it's unhealthy. It's everything in life has to be controlled and disciplined at some level to a degree. Even when it comes to sex. Savage, you have something to say?
I just wanted to add on to what Vita said, man. I appreciate you, brother, for saying that, because the importance in attacking or fighting addiction is airing it out, saying it out loud, because internalization is what eats us inside, right? Because we know it's bad for us, but because if no one knows what's going on with you, eventually it will attack the very internal system that you call love and inside yourself. I had a very minor porn addiction myself too. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is the only way I could get rid of it was I had to say it out loud, that this is what has a hold of my attention. This is what I'm obsessed with for some reason. And I don't know how to get rid of it. And when I did so, I connected with others. And then, from there, it was a bunch of us trying to heal from it because of what was normalized, not only in the circles, but media. Media plays a very good role in sexualizing a woman and making young men believe this is how women are easily pleased. You have to do X, Y, and Z in order to make them feel this way. And when it comes to the moment or the act, lo and behold, holy shit, that those videos were lying. This girl ain't fucking moaning. She's not moaning her fucking ass. Whoa, dude, this is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to say thank you for saying that, Vita, because there's a young man out there right now who might be dealing with it and doesn't know how to combat it.
Yeah. I just want to ask to the panel, and Vita brought something that happens to a lot of young men out there, porn addiction. I'm not gonna lie, I went through that. Some phase growing up in my early 20s, went through my porn addiction, and then when it was time to get it up, it was a. I was like, shit. Like, damn, because you was desensitized because you were watching porn all the time. So I had to step away from that to get my shit rocking and working again. I was like, boom. But I just want to ask the panel, just like, did you guys ever go through that experience of like porn addiction, or what was your experience about it? Because I think that was a great topic that Vita brought up, because that's something that's going on a lot. And there's statistics out there that show that porn addiction is rising more than ever today. So I just want to ask you guys real quick, David.
Oh, for sure. I live in Las Vegas, baby. It's Sin City, man. Like growing up out here, like there was more porn fucking magazine stands than there were newsstands out here. And it was open to the public. Like kids could, like, there's motherfuckers at the strip over here slapping cars, passing out cars all the time. And you over here with your family, 6 or 7 years old, trying to look at all the cars. Walking, you know what I'm saying? So like Sabri said, when you're surrounded by it, no matter what, man, it's gonna happen. And unfortunately, it does happen.
Yep. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I remember Vegas.
Yeah, speaking of those Vegas cards, I'd seen one. I was in 3rd grade, walking to my bus stop, and I picked one up it was right in front, because I lived right in front of the high school. So somehow, yeah, it was there, but it was starred out. You couldn't actually see anything, but it was very, very provocative about what was behind the stars. And going to school, I showed everyone on the bus, on every bus stop, I was like, look at this. No, I think it was in 4th grade. So I'm in 4th grade. Being in 4th grade, I felt like I was the coolest kid in the world. Look what I got. And it got to the point where it might not even have been lunch yet. And I was showing, my whole table, we're in tables like 5. I showed, dude, this guy snitched on me, man. I showed Gregorio and this girl, Sarah, and they went up to the teacher and told the teacher what I had. And then the teacher, she called me up, and I had to come, show, because she knew that I knew that I had something. So I went to my backpack. I showed her what it was. I got called up to the office. I ended up getting suspended. But yeah, that stuff could be, I don't think I was like traumatized or anything over it, but I think it was probably excessive to have suspended me over that. Especially, it wasn't real. It was, might have been explicit, but it wasn't like, real nudity or anything. But yeah, going to the porn thing. So I think it'd be a hole that you can dig yourself into, where, biologically we're designed a certain way for a reason. And if we're seeking out, essentially you're seeking out sexual satisfaction, the way you do that naturally is, becoming intimate with a female. And if you are seeking that out and you don't have to contend with an actual woman, I think it can stunt potential growth that you have if you're just stuck in that hole where you're not working on yourself in a way where you can get that for real. And instead, in fact, it's easier to not get it for real. And you know, sometimes you know, not often, but sometimes it could even be better, you know, but but it's not a healthy thing to be engaging with. And yeah, it's not not a, I mean, it could be, you know, alternative, like originally it was mentioned for, you know, rape or, you know, being horny, but that's what it's yeah, it's hard not to, but you're probably better off for not doing
This
it.
might, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this might be pretty extreme, but like if you have to watch porn so you don't rape someone, there might be a bigger issue. But I know that's not what you're saying. I know that's not what you're saying. I just wanted to clarify that. And then to go on some of the social stuff that people might be going through. Luckily for me, like at least in high school, like I was chilling, man. I was athletic. I got involved with stuff and all that. And I would say I know how to talk to people and I wasn't the weird awkward. But I know some people who really struggle with social anxiety, just confidence with themselves, or just looking people in the eye because of what they're dealing with when it comes to porn or any other addiction, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the reason why porn addiction is so dangerous is because it's easy to hide and it's free. It's like you said, I grew up in Vegas too, David. Like it's everywhere, you know, and it affects everyone, and et cetera, et cetera. But I know that's not what you were saying, Forrest. I'm just saying, like, I think you need to say that to make sure, because if you have to go to that outlet to not take advantage of somebody, there might be some more issues.
Yeah, way worse. Yeah, a buddy of mine was telling me there's a book called I think it's called Libido Dominitra or something. It was written by this guy, E. Michael Jones, and they bring up a point where, you know, porn was used as as an asset for psychological warfare, and I guess Israel during the, you know, when they had been occupying Palestine, they had set a curfew, and conveniently at the same time they set a curfew is when there was only 3 channels that were on the TV, and they would flip like 2 out of the 3 channels that were on. There was only 3 channels. 2 out of the 3 would at the same time that the curfew is set, they'd become channels for pornography. And it was a way to they're sort of you know, containing their aggression, and there might I don't, and this kind of hearsay about, there could be some correlation between, you know, being, you know, violent for something you believe in, which might be having invaders occupying your territory, and if you're, you know, sitting there, it's curfew, and you're beating your meat, it could destroy a lot of you know,
become docile
energy or ambition.
Yeah. Savage, you had something to say real quick?
Yeah. Just answering your question about this, you know, dealing with this kind of shit, right? I just wanted to highlight this story real quick. So young men understand the misconception about pornography versus reality. Women don't like their hair being pulled out of nowhere. And I know this from personal experience, because in 6th grade, during our 6th grade middle school dance, you know, grinding, you're not supposed to be doing that, but you know, we were doing it from the windows to the walls. Everybody's doing it. We're all grinding and shit. And we're damn near having sex with just clothes on. You know, I'm grinding, bumping and grinding. I really don't know what I'm doing. And I reached to grab her hair. Not only do I get in trouble, I don't get in trouble for the grinding. I get in trouble for pulling her hair, because of the misconception. I thought in the videos I was watching, women like that shit. So young men, whatever you're watching, don't play that shit out. Don't fucking play that shit out, because you will find out very, very, very badly that shit is not only real, but they do that to make more money. All right, they do that to make more money.
All right, thank you. Daniela, what was your thoughts about pornography?
Yeah, this is a bit of a tangent, but this is why I find my role as a dad rewarding, right? And not only that, in the sense that I've, for some stroke of luck, I've managed to be as self-aware as I am. To me, the reason why a lot of people go into addiction is that there are no different options or tools to so that you can pull on when there is an extreme. In terms of sex, the reason why I talk about pornography in the sense that that could be an outlet. So if you're self-aware of what you need to get done, I exercise in my own sort of relationship where I don't I shouldn't make my partner feel guilty for not wanting to have sex, and she shouldn't make me feel guilty for wanting to have sex, right? In some of those instances where I am truly in a hormonal state, I need to rub one off. And I can't make my partner feel guilty if she doesn't want to give it up, because I understand that she's not as horny, if you want to call it layman's term, as I am, based on our biology. So if you're aware of what pornography can help in the sense of release, being self-aware, it can come to an experience where it's a means to an end, right? But that also comes back to, how do we develop self-aware? I'm a big proponent for reading and writing, and I try to teach my son to not only read but also write, to understand what he is consuming. And the reason for that is, it goes back to a lot of our talk. We need to be logical thinkers, and to develop critical thinking, it is majority based on logic and dissecting what your values and biases are. So when you get into a situation where addiction is enclosing, sometimes you have to experience it and go to its full extent before you can pull back. Some people are able to identify that earlier on, but majority of the people that dug themselves out of those holes, most of them are self-aware. They are aware of the direction that they're heading. They are aware of the impact that it's causing in their life. And that's why I preach self-awareness and being articulate. To be articulate, you need to read well and you need to write well. And I'm also under the understanding that I have no excuses as an adult man. And if I get myself into any sort of difficulty, I have no excuse to be where I am. I have the level of comprehension of an adult. I should be able to be aware of where my life is heading and in what direction it is, and what the impact is if I allow myself to head in that direction, right? So as much as we talk about the extreme, I'm big on accountability and resilience. Be accountable for your own shit, and you can't be accountable if you're not self-aware. You can't be self-aware if you don't read and write well. So those are the strategies I teach young men who comes through construction, who are stuck in the system. Majority of them stuck in the system, and that's their only avenue for any financial mean. And I talk to them about this sort of thing. We have this notion of all of these end results and being self-aware and whatnot, but what are the strategies that we need to develop? And those are the strategies. You need to read and write.
Yeah. I think, thank you, Daniel, for sharing it. I think, I forgot who it was. Was it you, Daniel, or was it Vita? I think when you watch so much pornography, I think it was Forrest. When you watch so much pornography, it stops you from going out there in the real world and talking to women. I think part of being a man is courting women, in the process of what you have to do to court women, which is you have to go outside your comfort zone. You have to ask and to take initiative. You have to have the courage to ask and get rejected, because rejection is a part of life, and it's part of what we go through.
Porn is risk-free. There's no risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and also I think that's something that's important. But if you don't go out there and experience that in real life, and you just stay in your home and you just stay in your comfort zone as a man and watch pornography, it doesn't help you in your growth, especially when it comes to courtship and dealing with women in real life. That's one thing I've noticed with people I know that suffer with porn addiction, is like their courage and their lack of confidence in pursuing women is diminished greatly, because they just, like I said, they live in the dream world, of just watching these women having sex. And of course, that's those companies, that the porn websites, they make money off it. So they're going to keep doing what they're doing, and no consequences to them about the effects of what pornography doing to young men on long term. I do want to finish off. Natasha, if you're here right now, I want to bring you in and have you share your thoughts real quick, and I'm going to close with one last question, which you guys to close up the podcast. So Natasha, if you're watching this right now, I'm going to have you jump on real quick to share your thoughts real quick, and then I'm going to conclude the podcast. What's up, Natasha? We're going to keep doing
Hey.
No consequences to them. All right. So give a jumping on, Natasha. And yeah, what's your thoughts about everything we said, and then sharing your perspective as a woman?
Fun fact, I am a child support kid. I am the product of a man that chose not to absorb his responsibility for having a child. And the child support came into play because he simply chose to not, that was the compensation for his not choosing to be there. And I guess for me, that is it created a complex for me because he carried on and he has 3 other kids. And it created this issue in my head of like, why was I not enough for him? And when Savage, and I think someone else referenced earlier about not being ready, because my mom was young and they were in high school, that I understand completely. However, I feel like at the same time, like he wasn't held to a level of accountability, because responsibility isn't just entail in being better, it entails accountability. When you make mature decisions, or you make mature actions, your family should hold you, or your parents, I guess I should say, should hold you to being accountable to like following through with that. And so I think for me, as opposed to like being fixated on like why, men don't step up, because there are women that do the same. Women can be just as trifling, and we're not going to negate that, because I'm walking my brother through that. I'm helping him raise his kids because his ex-wife chose to step out on them, voluntarily left. So there go that. But I think that the narrative really should be about, rather than discussing or unpacking the why, is how are we going to move forward with impacting younger generations or men that are currently in the situation of like, how do we make sure that you're doing your job, not necessarily being focused on the fact that your big mom of choice was terrible, but your kids, because they matter. And I think in addition to, even though, because the system is not in favor of men, that I very much agree to, that even though the incentive is just that managed limited time with your kids, make that shit count. Because whether it is you have a son or a daughter, because I think for me culturally, there's this stigma around, and we've talked about this before, where the moms predominantly raise the daughters, the dads predominantly raise the sons. Daughters need that too. This is how, this is where the men have the opportunity to step up and not just teach their daughters how to navigate through, filtering out what men to entertain and what not, but also to how to treat their men, how to respect them, right? Because for me, luckily, my mom met a man I was 3 years old, and he didn't have to choose to step up to the plate and raise me, but what effortlessly he did. And that's my dad. No one will ever tell me he's not. But it's through him that I learned my importance, like as a woman, in terms of being strong and independent to a degree, but also allowing myself to be submissive within my partnership, when that's necessary, to make sure that my man still feels like a man without feeling, less than because of who I am as a person. So that I just wanted to share, because I was obviously sitting and watching, and I think in being able to put in, to give that input, that as a daughter, like a dad's presence does matter as much as the mom's does, because that really is, the mom is really who lays the foundation, and then the dad is who refines it, because that really is, dads play a really big role in who women become. And that was my 2 cents. So I think that everything that you guys are discussing is really great. I do think that in terms of get hosed, it renders failure. I think that the hip hop culture really, like in terms of Samoa, like growing up, my cousins, they were trying to like become what they saw in music videos. So like if they, whatever the lyrics were saying in songs, and, whatever they were seeing on TV, whatever they had access to, that was their perception of what America was. And so it was like all of the cultural traditions that they're learning on the island, to them, it's like, okay, well, that's not real, or there's something bigger than that, where we don't have to have just one wife or just one girlfriend. We can go and have hella bitches and hella hoes, and they don't gonna say nothing. But I think that that's a really big part of it too, that in addition to having families of womanizers and whatnot, that media and what our culture specifically has access to, really determines the perception of what they come with when they move here. Because I've had cousins that they will be in Samoa and like happily in a relationship, but then they come here and they have like 7 girlfriends just because they can. And so it's like one of those things where, I think that being that you guys are all, cast of men that are really utilizing what you guys have been, your platform as far as like with the guys that are watching that maybe going through the same thing, or, you know, guys that are curious, or, you know, maybe they're recklessly having sex, you know, to make sure we remind them, you know, that's not bigger than just you and her, you know, because if there's a kid involved, that really is who pays the price for bad decisions that are made on both ends. So
No worries. All right. Hey, Natasha, thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your thoughts real quick and your experience. If there was anything you guys want to reciprocate back to Natasha?
Yeah, the role of men. The role of men in relationship is crucial. And this goes back to what we've been discussing in majority of the podcast. As parents, we set the baseline for our children. We can't control what they choose and ultimately, but we set the baseline. So if you're in a good and healthy relationship, one that respects and love each other for what they bring to the relationship, your kids have a better chance of baselining that than one dynamic sort of relationship. So that's not just saying that being in a relationship is all happy and dandy. You have to work on it. And our perception of love is this: as long as you have the feeling, that should be able to sustain a relationship. No, to me, you know, long-term commitment is work. It is 24/7 work. And those work is not just to uphold your partnership or your relationship with your partner. It's to set the baseline, the guideline for your children to at least have some form of reference when they go out to the real world themselves. The type of father that you become as a man is what your daughter will seek, or the lack of is what your daughter will seek. And that's what your son will baseline. Same level as the mother. And this is what I exercise with my partner, is that when I see that she's going down the modern woman route, you know, I step in and say, hey, let's unpack this. Let's have the conversation. Those qualities that you're displaying, how are our children going to see that, and how will that baseline their life in the future? So it's keeping each other in check and having the open dialogue and be able to have the hard conversations. So, yeah, my brother, as unfortunate as his situation is, I've had to pull back, because the more that I have to talk to him about the same thing over again, it starts devaluing what I have to say. But he's one of the closest example for me for how a man should not be. You know, he's occupied with different ventures, and I keep asking him, what's the bigger goal? Is the attainment of money and fame for yourself or for your children? You know, you now have children, you have to think about that dynamic too. Yeah.
All right, no worries. Natasha, always. Savage, want to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, just piggybacking off. I don't want to address anything she spoke of as far as her personal experience. I do want to address, however, where she was coming from as far as being. I don't want to say a product of child support, but the solution, right? So when I talked, I expected to have a son first. You know, it was a stereotypical thing. I just wanted to have a son first. I didn't. I had a daughter. And that threw me for a loop, because I didn't know how to be around women. I didn't know how to be around. I could hardly be around do things the right way around my sisters, regardless of the culture. I was so Americanized to a point where everything I said or did that came out of my mouth or my actions, I disregarded who was around me. My daughter has taught me how to refine myself in being not only a proper person, but how I say things, how I do things. It's because of her. I gave her full credit of that. When I talk to my daughter, I talk to her in a direct form of fashion. Some people would call me militant towards the way I treat my daughter. And that's not me. I mean, my mom always gets on me about talking and doing certain things around her, because she's going to be a tomboy. You keep doing that. Look, honestly, this is who I am. This is who I am passionately. I can't hide the way I am. And if that molds my daughter in any way, shape, or form, then, you know, whatever you think, Mom, then so be it. But I want to be real. I want my daughter to see the real me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be, oh, sweetie, yeah, no. Like, no, she gets me in full effect. Everything. If I'm mad, she gets that. If I'm happy, she gets that. You know, if I'm confused, she gets that. And she can call me out on most of those things. And I was never really prepared for that. But because I'm able to take that kind of criticism from a young girl like that, I'm able to check myself easily now. I don't need my wife to do it. I don't need anybody else to. I'll check myself right before I walk through the door, so that I know it's not an ego thing. It's a beneficial thing for all parties. But I learned that from my daughter. So when
All
you
right.
said that, Natasha, I wanted to thank you for that.
All right. And David, you have something to say?
Yeah, and just to back up what Savage was saying, same thing with Daniela. It's the same thing for me. My first child was a girl. It changed my whole perspective on how to be a father. But it's the same thing. Like, that's one thing that I hear from a lot of my sisters, my cousins and stuff, is that a lot of men, to a certain point, once a woman gets to a certain age as well, that communication stops because of the way our culture is. That's one thing that I try to instill with my daughter, is that I have to put her up on game, because there could be a podcast further in the future where she could be part of, because she chose the wrong dude.
Yeah.
And just like any other human, we all make mistakes. But if I could teach her the same values of valuing herself and learning how to decipher on where you're going to spend your energy and who you're going to spend that energy on, then she would be set up for better success. And that only comes with my presence being there.
I know. No, David, I mean, that's what I tell women all the time.
Mhm.
Put them on game.
1000%.
Black is
They
him.
get mad. They get mad. They get mad. All right, Natasha, thank you so much. I'm about to drop you off, and then we're going to conclude the podcast. Thank you,
Thanks,
Natasha.
Natasha.
All right. I'm going to give you some more. Thank you, Natasha. All right, so fellas, to conclude the podcast real quick, what I want to end off with this is, I think with every topic that we discuss, I always want to come down to solution, right? What could we do better? What is the solution to change all of this? You know, that's the whole point of the discussion, right? So what I want to ask you guys is, I think one of the biggest things I heard from you guys is a lot of the young men aren't prepared as fathers, right? And then I was doing my own research about the topic. I went on the internet, and I read some articles, and he said like one of the biggest things that men are why don't they step up to responsibility is the fear. They're afraid, right? They're afraid of the unknown, because when you have a child, especially if you have it unprepared, you're going into unknown territory that you've never been before, right? So it does cause a lot of people to have anxiety. I think somebody said it. So I want to ask you guys, you know, Daniela, I know Daniela, Savage, you guys are all fathers. What should men know right now? Young men are watching this right now. What should they know to prepare themselves, right, to be a father? And also, I want to ask you guys, what is your thought process now when it comes to selecting a quality female? You know, so I think that's two things that men need to know: is what do they need to know to prepare to themselves to be a father? The reality is, this is what a father should be. So before you go out there and start, you know, having unprotected sex, just understand that this is going to be potentially going to be the reality of what your life is going to be for the rest of your life if she gets pregnant. And also, from your standpoint, now gone through your experience as a man and gone through your own life experiences, what have you learned when it comes to selecting the type of female that you would teach your sons? This is the type of woman you should go and attract, and if you should pursue if you want to go out there and get women. So I'll start with you, David. What should men know as far as preparing to be a father, and also what should they know also when it comes to selecting a quality female? So I'll start with you, David.
I think Daniela actually spoke on this pretty well. Is self-awareness. The better you are aware of your capabilities, but also where your cap is, the better you will be off, because then you will be able to better gauge on the type of partner that you will be looking for that can help you reach those certain levels. There's going to be a lot of times where you'll feel that maybe that first year or so that you guys are a match made in heaven, and then year 2, 3, 4, that's not what it is. So one, being self-aware, making sure you know who you are, what your values are, what you are going to bring to the table, and what you expect the counter to bring as well. But that all goes into mentality. Same thing with fathership. You got to get your head right. You got to make sure your circle around you is right. As you got the right people around you, like all my boys. Once I hear that they have become fathers, man, I'm the first one on their train. Welcome to fatherhood. This is the best hood you ever going to be a part of. I promise you. Like, that, you have to have people in your circle that are going to hype you up, that are going to get you, like Savage said, prepared, whether it's mentally, physically, financially, whatever the case. You got to make sure your mental and your circle are straight whenever you come up and try to tackle on these type of obstacles.
Okay. And what's the type of women he should pursue, like qualities or according to your opinion?
The same thing. Like I said, if you know yourself, then you know what you would be lacking, and your partner should be reflecting of what you want to pursue. It's the same thing. Like, you can't be afraid to go out there and look for a partner, but you should also be looking for a partner that will help extend that part of you. If you don't have someone that's going to help extend that part of you, or help you become better, if you see a girl that's in and out on OnlyFans, I'm pretty sure that's not the one for you, my boy. If she's on IG and checking out all her likes and commenting back to all these dudes, that's not the one for you, my boy.
Okay.
That's the type that you're looking for.
Okay. All right. OnlyFans. All right. No go. All right. No go. All right. I'll go with the fathers around. Daniela, what's your thoughts? I know for the sake of time, and just make a quick response. But yeah, what's your thoughts on young men that need to prepare themselves and what kind of female they should attract?
Yeah. First and foremost, learn to read and write. What that does, it improves your speech. Not only that, develops your self-awareness. Also, do a lot of maths, because that allows you to compute and to logically drive computing power in your brain. We don't think about a lot of these things, but to improve self-awareness, you also have to improve your computing capacity. That's how you connect dots and do it at a very fast pace. So learn to read and write in whatever language that you choose, mostly English, because that's the global language. But whatever else, whether it's your native tongue or whatever, but learn to read and write, and also pick up some maths homework from your kids or just on the internet, because that improves the capability of your brain to compute things and to logically process things. In terms of relationship, look to date before you get into a relationship. What that does, it establishes boundaries. It allows you to gauge compromises where you both walk away equally. And from there, you gauge respect. So you need to be aware of what respect means to you as a man, because that's your language. Women's language is love. So you also need to identify what quality in a woman that will make you love them initially. And from there on, it's all hard work. But it is a blessing to be with someone that respects you and someone that you can love. And then from then on, to create a family. So those are the strategies that I always talk about with a lot of young men. Learn to read and write, do a lot of maths, even if it's hard, because it allows your brain to process things a lot better. Not only that, compromises. It's needed within a relationship. What are the compromises you can tolerate? What are the complementary values that you think is where your respect is gauged from? And what quality from a woman that you will love, and to learn to love that throughout the whole duration of your commitment to her. And to do that, date and establish that you're only dating and you're not getting into a relationship. You do that with women and you'll figure out where you stand in terms of that relationship. Not only that, learn to be a leader. And to do that, stand in front of people and to talk. You have to engage yourself in conversation, and do that sober. I've given up drinking because I've said to myself so many times, I'm so much self-aware of what I'm capable of. What's my excuse for drinking and socializing? And my excuse was liquid courage. So I forced myself to be sober and to engage in those social environment and to have the conversation sober. That's one of the biggest thing I contribute to the level of interaction that I have with other people, is doing it feeling nervous as shit, and to do it sober and to regulate yourself in a very weird situation. So yeah, that's my take on strategies that men can develop.
No worries. Thank you, Daniela. Appreciate that. It's always spreading the facts, and Savage, same thing. Once your men know it's prepared for the fatherhood and quality in female.
Well, first to the young men, I'm not obligated to tell you this. I tell you this because we're human beings. I love you. Straight up, I love you. I don't know you. I don't know what you're going through, but I love you. I love you because if no one's telling you, you deserve to be loved. And I love you. To the current fathers going through any situation, whether you're with your spouse or your significant other or you're not, listen, you're allowed to make a mistake. You're allowed to make a mistake. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. It's a part of life. Normalize that shit. Make a mistake. What you need to understand about making a mistake is not running from it. because it piles up later and then it becomes a bigger problem. And then it affects your very livelihood. So I think if you are able to take it one step at a time and rely on your partner, or if you don't have a partner, in some way, shape, or form, I don't want to say it's the universe or God or whatever the case might be, but when you begin to attack these mistakes head on, you become a bit of a problem solver. You get really good at it to a point you start to attract the right people around you, and you might even find the right one to be with in your life. And as far as the qualities in a woman to look for, listen, I didn't expect to be with my wife long term, but we grew together. If you can picture yourself with somebody that you can grow with together, that is something worth being with. It doesn't have to be about the looks, although, you know, that could be a bonus. But, you know, growing with somebody is probably the best experience in life that you're going to ever have. You know what I'm saying? Seeing yourself where you're at in the beginning and then actually seeing yourself in the future growing old with that person. That's dope as fuck. And yeah, man, I think with that, everything will be good, man. Just I love to the young men. I love you guys. To the current fathers in their situations, make the mistake and figure it out. You can do it. And to, you know, as far as the perfect girl, if you're someone you can see yourself growing with, that's it's worth it. So that's it.
All right, thank you, Savage. Appreciate that. And Vita, what's your thoughts about just? Do you have kids or not?
Only 24. And does my mic sound better?
Yeah, your mic sounds a lot better. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So you're no worries. So what's your thoughts about, you know, just preparing for fatherhood and then looking for the type of women that you want to attract?
As far as advice from what I've heard from people I know and people who are fathers and my own father, it's like you have to be willing to break your back to provide for your family, and you have to be willing to even die to protect them. And then as far as
So his phone probably died. I guarantee you. No worries, Forrest.
Yeah, he called it as he was going down.
I just want to add to what he's saying, right? A lot of men, and I face this with my brother-in-law. A lot of men will say, "I will do literally anything for my children." But the question that I give them: will you be willing to be sober, to face your heartbreaks and the trials and tribulation of your life full on with a sober state of mind? Because majority of men will say this, and they get under this notion that I'll do anything for my children. But would you heal for your children? That's a big thing that needs to come across, right? You can say all these things, but if you go down and go to the pub or buy a box of piss or whatever to drown your sorrows of whatever you're going through, then you're not doing what you're saying. If you're gonna utter those words or dare to put upon yourself those words that I will do anything for my children, you better be willing to do the hard things, which is to process all your trauma and your trigger in a sober state of mind and figure it out.
Yeah, I always find it ironic, like when I have friends that party every weekend and do drugs and I'll do anything for my kids. I'm like, yeah.
Stop the cap.
All right. Forrest, what's your thoughts, man?
Advice: be very, very suspicious of things coming downstream of culture. Don't you know, you might want to be, and it's good to be popular for the right reasons, but I would say at some point don't sell out. Be very suspicious of what's coming downstream of culture. And because it's worth beating a dead horse, I believe, I don't think it'd be said enough. Being able to write is priceless. And when you're there at the same time, don't try and let there be as little difference as possible between what you say and how you behave. In the movie The Matrix, there's a scene where Morpheus, you know, he tells Neo, he's like, there's all the difference in the world, or, you know, essentially the sentiment of it is, you know, all the differences, you know, or there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And walking the path is the part that takes character. You can know something, but to do it is something entirely different. And you need to seek pursuing a character and not comfort. I was talking about, you know, pursuing pleasure or purpose. Don't get comfortable. Etch out a character. And then for, you know, what to look at for in a woman, I would say a woman who's virtuous. If she's virtuous, that's the greatest possible good. That's another a human being at their most beautiful, being virtuous. If you find a woman that's virtuous, just to be short, and I'll cross all domains or as close to many as possible, or grow in that with one another. That's worth it. That's worth doing.
All right, thank you, fellas. Appreciate you guys all sharing your thoughts. And I think for me, just to leave everything, just to add on everybody, I think just take responsibility. If you take responsibility for everything in your life just gets better. Universe, whatever you believe in, higher power, God. But if you take responsibility for your actions, your decisions make them get better. And also for the quality female, I think mine is just real simple: feminine, cooperative, submissive. Don't be a hoe. It's real simple. That should be the baseline.
Oh yeah, raise it up.
and you can win. And if you find that, you can build everything. Find any other quality you want. But fellas, thank you so much for jumping on this podcast real quick. Much love to you guys. But thank you for sharing all your experiences. Thank you for you guys watching this right now. If you love the content, please press the like or subscribe button. But fellas, just to leave off with the podcast real quick, I want to ask you guys real quick, what did you take away from tonight's conversation? And also, if people watching this right now, how can they find you? How can they find you? So if they want to support you, if you have something that you, business, you have something you have, how can people find you, support you? And so, what's your take and how can they find you? That's how we do, David. What was your take and how can people find you if they want to get in contact with you?
Oh, snap. Hold up. My lights just went out. Hold up. All right. So my take, pretty much, man, we just need to have more conversations like this just amongst men in general. The best way that we can help build each other is just communication. As far as finding me, check me out on IG at Fresh Prince OTW. That would be Fresh Prince OTW. You can also check me out the Vegas Tasting Room, new cannabis marketplace here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have the very first and only legal cannabis consumption lounge, and I'm graciously have been enshrined as a GM there. Also, we started shooting content from my dispensary as well. We shoot a YouTube series called New Sessions, and I am the host. If y'all could please come and check me out. We had 3 UFC fighters on our latest episode. That episode just dropped today. Come check me out, man. If y'all want peace, love, and green, let me know. Come and hit me up.
All right.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Damn, well, you're doing great things. Shout out to you, David. All right. Forrest, man, what was your take and how can people find you, Forrest?
Find me. Probably be tagged on this on your platform, but eventually I have a website right now. I have a blog. I'm trying to pursue. I'm just staying it up right now. I'm writing. I'm basically shit posting, but I'm not kidding. And it's just an outlet for me to write and talk about things that are of interest to me. And it would be, the website is seekinghavoc.org. It's not really stood up yet or functioning quite yet, but by the time you're seeing this, it may be. But it's a treat being on. Thank you, Will.
No worries. Thank you, Forrest, man. Thank you for always jumping on, man. And Daniela, same thing. What's your take and how can people find you?
Put more emphasis into accountability and resilience, and not only that, growth mindset. And to any young man that's watching this, reach out to the panel through the links that they drop, or even reach out to Will. If you want to talk strategy on how to deal with certain things, reach out. I'm a big proponent on strategizing how you approach different trauma and triggers. And you'll find that majority of my approach will incorporate a little bit of emotion, but majority of it will be logically driven. And I'm one to try and connect the two in the sense that emotions are necessary, however, logically trumps the feeling of emotion in some sense. You'll find me at 4 Eyes One Lens. That is my little... though I don't display a lot of my personal life in there. That's me sort of honing in on my creative outlet. But if you want to talk majority of what I encourage people is to have the one-on-one. So whether technology has allowed us to do that, so whether there's a Zoom, a call, or whatever, things are spoken better and understood better when you have a direct feedback rather than, you know, texting and whatnot. But yeah, don't demonize yourselves, men, and to fathers. This is one thing that I've learned so far. You'll never feel like you'll be enough for your kids, but that's what drives us. Having that chip on our shoulder to be better and to do better is what drives us. So as much as people like to talk about fully healing, I think it's necessary to have that chip on your shoulder so that you improve and to have a growth mindset. So yeah, thanks Will for having me, and thank you to all the men that are currently in the panel right now. What we're doing is iron sharpening iron. So thank you for all your take on what is a very important subject to talk about.
Oh, no worries. Hey, Forrest, when you drop your blog, let me know.
Will do, man. Will do,
Let me
man.
know. Let me know, bro. Let me know. All
And
right.
add David to your description if you can, Will, so we can reach out and connect with his stuff.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And yeah, all the everybody out in Cali, smoke weed, man. Definitely hit up David. All right. Last but not least, Savage, man. What's your take, and how can people not find you?
Simply do not find me. If it is worth your time, you will find me. But don't, please. I'm trying not to get canceled. No. But all seriousness, thank you guys for being a part of this panel and having this conversation. My children will look back at this and watch this and know that I'm speaking this into life, know that their father spoke truth. And that's all I ever tried to embody. As far as what I took away from this, balance, mind, body, and spirit. The man must balance mind, body, and spirit in order to be functioning in this plane of existence. If you are not balanced and something is out of the loop, well, we see result of that in modern day society with things like mental health, obesity, and of course, a lack of direction spiritually. So balance yourself. And I think somewhere down the line, I think we're actually looking good. I think the future is looking very bright for the young men and women coming into, because if we're having this conversation, this is the seed to be planted. They will be the gardeners to take care of the garden. So with that being said, to my haters, lick my ass, and to you kids, have fun.
All right, no, right. Violate and no worries. Like, don't forget, this is the seed we plant on this conversation. It doesn't mean you go plant your penis somewhere else. All right, guys. I want to make sure you don't take it out of context. But nevertheless, fellas, I want to thank you so much for taking your time. I know you're all busy men of purpose, living your own purpose in life. Thank you so much for all the men out there. Thank you so much. I want to say I love you. Just want to say that one more time. I love you, man. Whatever you're going through right now, you may feel alone. You may feel like no one's supporting you. Uncle Sam, the government, whatever the word is, just understand there are men out here trying to reach out to you. And if you found this, I just want to say, man, much love to you, and just keep fighting the fight. And and if all you guys watching this right now, we do this every single Wednesday. If you love the content, press that like, the subscribe button, and follow all my fellas out here, support them what they do, and support them everything they do. I'm gonna drop the links below so that we can follow them and find them. And for all the women, yeah.
Woo! She belongs to the streets.
That's where you belong.
Hell no to the no. Hell to the no.
To the no. Yeah, to the no. Yeah, to the no. To the no.
All my
Love you
haters.
guys.
All right,
man.
love you
Love you guys.
Peace.